But Steen's a lot younger than me, so I didn't have any romantic interest in him. I thought he was a very handsome boy, but I had very maternal feelings towards him.
Yeah.
No.
And that clearly changed.
Hello and welcome to The Heart of It. We would like to acknowledge the Gadigal people of the Eora Nation, the traditional custodians of this land, and pay our respects to the elders, both past and present. How are you, sweetheart?
I'm really good. How are you?
I'm very pumped about this chat that we just had. Sara Pascoe and Steen Raskopoulos.
You said that really well. Raskopoulos. Well, isn't that a great Greek name?
It's a fantastic name.
And it comes out that his dad, Steen's dad, was actually a very famous footballer.
Yeah, I
have to look that up.
Yeah, I know, because if I was more of a rugby fan, football you're talking about.
I think football.
He
meant soccer, didn't he? That was my understanding. He's a soccer. He's the captain of the Australian soccer team, but he calls it football because he lives in the UK.
Why did I think he was talking about rugby league?
I don't know, but I don't think
It's
it was.
not rugby
It was
league.
not rugby league.
It was the soccer ball.
It was soccer.
It was the round ball.
It was
name.
the one we like. Well, actually, the one I like, I should say.
Well, you
I
like
love
the
soccer.
Matildas. So.
Love the Matildas.
Do you like the men's soccer?
I do.
The Beckham documentary was.
I like
him
soccer
play,
because it moves and it's interesting all the time.
even though they don't score very much.
Yeah, I don't mind that. I don't mind that.
All right.
But Sara Pascoe, she's come up on my Instagram feed so many times. In fact, whoever's listening out there, when you see Sarah's face and you'll go, oh, I know her. She's come up in my feed as well. She's hilarious. And she talks about where she gets her comedy ideas from, which makes a lot of sense to me.
Right. Okay. So Sara Pascoe, if you don't know, she's a UK funny woman. Steen is from Sydney. He's a comedian, actor, and improviser.
With a cult following, we found out as well.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
And there's a bit of discrepancy, or not so much discrepancy, they agree about how they met. But it was the first time, I guess, was pretty unmemorable for one of them.
Well, exactly. One doesn't remember meeting the other.
Yeah.
But they're delightful. They've got a lot to share.
Yeah.
They talk a lot about comedy influences. They're two beautiful little boys.
Yeah, and juggling life.
Exactly.
Between gigs and kids and how that all works.
And
so
lack of sleep.
It's a
Can
fun
relate.
chat. Lack of sleep. You can relate to that.
Oh, yeah, absolutely.
Check this out. Hey, Sara and Steen, welcome to The Heart of It. It's great to have you. Sara, you're from the UK.
Yes.
Steen, you're an Aussie fella.
Yeah, mate.
Yeah.
There it is.
There's got to be a story about how you met.
Yeah.
Oh, I would think so because
Yeah.
they have met. So
Yeah.
there has to be
So
something.
what's the story, Morning
good
Glory?
There's a
conclusion
couple of
there.
stories.
Okay.
It
The
depends
first-
whose version you want.
We got time for both.
Okay, well, so
we're
Steve's
diving.
version is
No, I'll tell. The first time we met was we were both nominated for one of the awards in the Edinburgh Fringe Festival,
he's telling you the long version with our accolades.
and
Okay. Well,
I
that's
love
good.
that.
You're
And-
award nominated
yeah,
comedians.
And then
it's great.
I just signed with Sarah's agent at the time, and she went into a place to introduce me to Sara, and Sara was with another comic with their dog, and I said, "Oh, hi, I'm Steen." Sara didn't even look up at me once. She was just patting the dog and was like, yeah, and then shooed me away, and that was the first time we kind of met, but not really.
See, I don't have any memory of this.
Because your attention was on the dog.
Well, I remember the dog. Yeah,
Yeah,
it
the
was
dog was cute.
a puppy spaniel. Just in my defence.
Yeah.
And
I hear ya.
unfortunately, I think what happened was Sarah meets Steen at the same time that the dog appeared, and one of those people was a very good little boy. So I said hello to him, and then I met you. In Melbourne, at the Melbourne Comedy Festival. I said, hello, my name's Sara. And he said, we were introduced once before a year ago. And then I thought, this guy's got attitude. Obviously, I said hello to the dog. Maybe I accidentally had good game or something, because then we ended up together.
Yeah.
Right. But how did you end up together? Not from that meeting, or did it?
No, many
The
years
second
of being
go-round.
friends,
Yeah,
sort of
yeah.
seeing each other at sort of comedy festivals all over the world.
Yeah.
Yeah, and then I wouldn't see you for a very long time, like 10 months. We would occasionally message about, work and auditions and things. But Steen's a lot younger than me, so I didn't have any romantic interest in him. I thought he was a very handsome boy, but I had very maternal feelings towards him.
Yeah.
No. Didn't
And that clearly changed.
What about it? Did you think, oh, that Sara Pascoe's going to be there tonight?
No, not at all. Same vibe. I always like Sarah's like one of the best comics in the UK. So just always, in terms of her professionalism and work ethic, always just looked up to her in that sense, and never thought anything romantically. And then when we're both kind of single, like we were like, oh, like maybe there's a bit more to it, kind of thing.
Yeah.
So,
If it was a rom-com movie, it would be two people who would have sworn we were absolutely platonic until one day we got drunk after bowling and had a first kiss, and then we're like, oh, we're crazy about each other.
Oh, that's so
Yeah.
gorgeous.
Was it really bowling?
Yeah. Oh, yeah.
She knocked
Oh,
it-
do you think it was a euphemism?
Well, I just thought it was a movie. I was like, oh, great, we're doing it around bowling. You know, this is the what's the great movie with Jeff Bridges? What's all about bowling?
The Big Lebowski.
Thank you.
Yeah.
Right.
Yeah, it's a Big Lebowski dude moment.
The famous,
dude, you're
the famous
hot.
romance.
Dude,
the
you're
Big
hot.
Lebowski.
So, exactly. So once you crossed over onto the mad about each other phase, what is it that then you fell in love with each other about?
I think he kind of started seeing me more of like a dog to kind of compete kind of thing. No, I don't know.
You are like a dog.
I'm going to say Labrador.
Yeah, like a really good
Yeah.
mood all the time.
Yeah.
You like meeting new people. You're social.
Yeah.
You like sport. You like running after balls.
That's true.
You're like a lovely dog.
I don't know. We just like really
Steen's
like
very
hanging out.
kind, and he really prides himself on sort of being really sweet, getting people presents they weren't expecting, or remembering when people's birthdays are, writing cards and letters. There are some things that actually are adorable about you. I don't think you even realise.
No, probably not.
Yeah.
Was that speaking of dogs, did that go down the leash from your parents? Were your folks like that?
I think so. I think my family have always just said, like, if you can be anything, like just be kind and considerate kind of thing, and that has definitely coming from my grandparents too. That kind of like built its way up. Yeah, I would say that.
I remember going out for a juice with you once, and you were worried about where my chair was, and you were like, "Oh no, I'll just move it for you." And I just thought, God, this guy is so considerate that he's so sort of aware of everyone else's sort of happiness as a base level.
That's a beautiful trait.
It's
actually.
a really beautiful trait, and very attractive as a friend and as a lover.
It's okay, you can say that.
Don't use that word. Is your background's Greek? Yes, I
Yeah.
gather by your name. Yeah. I have to say, I have Greek friends, and they are the most kindest, opening, warm people.
Oh, yeah.
I find that is part of the Greek culture.
Oh yeah, like the amount of times I've brought friends over to my grandparents' house, and they're like, "You don't tell us like you had friends coming over," but then would still have like 4 kilograms of lamb coming out for like a table of 2, and potatoes and Tupperware for all my friends, and like then
Tupperware.
no, but genuinely, they're my friends. Like a university would just like,
Yes.
"Hey man, your grandparents are they free on like Monday, Tuesday?" And they feed them for like 2 weeks, kind of thing.
Yeah.
But yeah, super generous.
Yeah,
super
truly.
generous. Yeah.
And very generous around the food thing, as you were saying. Like, my girlfriend is like, if I go over there, it's like, it doesn't matter what time of day, she wants to feed me. And I'm like, oh, I've just had lunch. I know, but I have food for you. And I'm like, okay, let's eat.
But even going out, like they will not let you pay for a bill. Like you've had like proper fights with my dad.
He told me I insulted him and humiliated him when I just did that thing, when someone keeps paying.
Yeah.
So I just, snuck off to
That's
pay.
like that's my dad's thing. Like he
He
always
does the sneak away.
And he found out when he went to pay the bill that it had already been paid. And he
was
got it. He said, "I
steamed.
need your card." He got it refunded back onto my card. He said, "Don't insult me again."
Wow.
Yeah, and he was furious.
This is a real thing.
And then I was like, "Oh, my 2 alpha men were really clashing, weren't we?" Your dad. It's very different from my culture because I grew up in a place called Essex, which is near London, and Steen. The first time you entertained, we had some friends over, and he did the big Greek cookout, and then gave away all of our plates covered in cling film.
Yeah.
And I was like, and he was like, "We'll get them back." I was like, "Of course we won't.
We haven't got them
no one's
back.
going to
We
bring a
haven't got
plate
them back.
round
We haven't got them back.
on a bus."
And good Tupperware those too.
You need to put an air tracker on them next time,
think
you
so,
can just
yeah.
like find out on your phone who's got my plate.
It's a bit like lending someone a book sometimes. Like
Yes.
the odd, if you
No,
lend
the
them,
books you just got to
books
give it away.
Oh
Yeah.
no! You Steve.
Well, I've got a system
yeah.
now because
Yeah.
it makes me too angry.
So Sarah
someone
reads
doesn't-
like a lot.
It makes me
you?
too
Yeah.
angry.
Yeah.
And it's not worth the headspace. Because you know when you can't sleep at like 2 or 3 in the morning, it just pops back in like, they never gave it back.
Yeah.
So now what I do, if you want a book, I go, oh, great, you really enjoy it? And I just buy it again for myself that day.
Yeah.
I just replace it.
Wow.
Yeah.
See, Ali's a voracious reader too. We now have a rule. She can't bring another book into the house. She has to give one away.
This is a horrible rule. I'm so glad I'm here.
Well, we've moved 84 times in the last 2 years.
Yeah.
So having to lug boxes of books, we still got
2/3 of the moving is always
Yes.
of books, and they're still in the boxes because we were in a rental and they don't have enough shelf space to put the books.
But
And
when
we
you-
still got the kids' books.
Yeah.
Are your kids reading?
can't get rid of the
you're reading
kids'
to the
books.
kids.
We read to them. We've got a lot of
They've
books.
got a lot of
Yeah.
books,
Yeah.
yeah. But putting the books out when you do have somewhere to have the space is so nice because you remember all the books that you've loved. I don't like this one in, one out rule, actually.
Yeah.
I don't like that you've heard it.
Yeah. Well, it's kind of a bit like guitars. I can't bring another guitar into the house without getting rid of a guitar.
Yeah,
Okay.
right.
But Sarah, I do have a secret stash under the bed. I have to tell you that. So
Why would you tell him your secret?
Thank God for that, yeah.
they're not going.
It's
I'm
like,
keeping
this
those.
bed is really unstable.
Yeah, why?
I'm the princess and the pea.
Yeah.
It's like there's a book under this 3-meter mattress.
This bed just keeps getting smarter.
Yeah, that's what it is. It's osmosis. I'm hoping to actually gain some smarts from it. How much, I mean, obviously, to state the obvious, you're both in comedy. How much do you laugh at home? Is it just a constant laugh fest?
Oh, before we had children, we laughed
Yeah.
a lot, I'd
Oh,
say.
yeah.
Since then, I can probably count it on one hand.
Yeah.
There's been a lot more passive aggression,
Oh, yeah.
grumpiness
Oh, yeah.
Okay.
since then.
Yeah.
Yeah. We're really in it. We've got a 1-year-old and a 3-year-old. Neither of them sleep through the night yet.
Oh, gosh.
And
And I mean,
So-
like ever. They've never slept. Like
Yeah.
our eldest has never slept for a full night
Yeah.
ever.
Yeah, so it's that face that
Yeah.
Steen is pulling. Of
Yeah.
just sort of like hold it together.
Yeah.
I don't think, I mean, anyone who's not been through that does not understand how brutal that is.
But
It
I
is
didn't understand. I remember
brutal.
like when
Yeah.
Katie, when your best friend was like, I'm like, oh, I'd come home from like the gym or like, did a gig, like a 2-hour train, come back. I'm like, oh, I'm tired. And she goes, you've got no idea. What
Yeah,
tired
yeah,
is."
yeah.
And then like now I'm like, yep, you're
Yeah, yeah.
absolutely right.
Yeah.
I'll give
Yeah.
you tired.
Yeah.
Have a 3 and a 1-year-old that are not sleeping. Oh,
Yeah.
God.
So how do you manage that then with okay, so you're living in the UK
Yeah.
now. And then the kids are obviously there with you.
I hope so.
So how do you are you one night on, one night off? You flip-flop it that way, or do you have extra
We
nannies?
we haven't managed to be organised. So actually, normally what happens is someone wakes up and then everyone's awake.
Yeah.
We've never managed to sleep through
No.
because your body's on high alert.
Yeah.
Something's up. Steen, even if it's like my turn to get up with the baby, he'll go downstairs and like make a bottle or do something, and then
Yeah.
we're both up. Or if you're the person trying to stay in bed, you're just there with your eyes open, waiting to go, "What's up?"
Yeah.
Yeah.
And also, the 3-year-old comes into our room, so then we're all up.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Are you here touring anything at the moment? Is there? You are, right?
Yeah.
Yeah,
Yeah,
it's
we
your
both
it's
are.
your tour specifically, right, Sarah?
Well, it's both of ours. I'm doing the Melbourne Comedy Festival and
Oh,
Sydney
right.
and Perth and
Yep.
Canberra.
Yeah.
And Steen's just come back from Canberra and is doing the Melbourne Comedy Festival and some other things.
And
Sydney,
Sydney as well.
big
Yeah,
show,
yeah.
yeah.
How do you manage that? How do you manage the kids and the festivals?
Well, luckily when we're here, Steen's parents, Steen's mum.
Yeah.
So we've
Great.
got the
But we
grandparents.
did Edinburgh last year, and Sarah did a
We did-
midday show.
Yeah.
And I think mine was at 5.
Yeah.
So it's kind of like
Okay.
I had to get one of them to sleep before you left for your gig. Then I'd come home during dinner time, kind of stuff, and then get them both to sleep. And even then, like, because they don't sleep, you got extra gigs. So like, I did some gigs at like 11 o'clock, like 11:30 at night. Get home at 1.
Wow.
And then like they wake up at 3 or 4, and then you're up, kind of thing.
Yeah.
With the fear of sounding like the old guy that's behind. Let me tell you what you don't know.
Yeah.
Moment. That hypervigilance that you have when they're little.
Yeah.
It never changes.
No.
Like our kids, we've got a 19-year-old living in the house right now. We know she goes out and they still lie awake waiting for her to come home.
Yeah.
So
You know,
I
it's
bet with
like-
the door latch.
Yeah, you can hear it and you go, ooh, and then I want to say it in the morning and go, geez, you got home at 2:30 last night. You sound a little pissed when you walk through the door. And then, but you
Is that
can't-
your serious voice?
Yeah, that's it. And the elbow goes, I'm a little teapot. But you can't say it because they're adults now. They just happen to live in the house. But it never changes.
Yeah, but it is sort of so our 3-year-old goes to nursery, and they send you pictures and stuff. So actually, they do sort of keep you updated with like, oh, we made Valentine's Day cards, or we made some slime. But you're like, what do they do when we're not there? Yeah. And I guess that's the thing that doesn't go away, is you're never not going to wonder, and what are they doing now? And what are they eating? And did they cross the road properly?
Yeah.
I can't imagine letting him cross the road by himself.
Yeah. And also when you do drop tea off at nursery, you do have that like exhale kind of thing. And then 2 hours later, like, oh, she was
Yeah. Then you have your date nights, and all you talk about is children. It's like, stop. Just let's talk about grown-up things.
You both, so Steen, you do more improv, like, is it theatre games and those sort of shows, or
no. So
and
like,
stand up as well?
Yeah, so I do like my stand up and my solo stuff is like character and sketch stuff. So that's what I do, like my solo stuff.
Yeah.
On my improv stuff, I do it with another guy called Carlo Ricci. We do like a show called The Bear Pack, which we've been doing since university. And
he's an Aussie guy.
He's an Aussie guy. He's from Glen Innes, like country boy.
Oh, I do know Glen Innes.
Yeah, so found him at uni and used to teach him. And then I was like, oh, this kid's pretty good. And then we started doing a show at Herman's Bar, which is like 30 students and 40 and 50. And now we play like the Enmore Theatre and stuff like that.
Great.
So just the two of us and our friend Angela Voppier, she plays the cello.
Yeah.
So we just get 2 words and we improvise a play in an hour, essentially. Just the two of us.
Oh my gosh. That sounds so fun.
It's really, really good. And they have all of these sort of cult diehard fans that come to every show. And because Steen's based in the UK and Carlo has a family here, whenever the tickets go on sale in Sydney, they just sort of, boom, all gone. And so many of the audience are like people like, oh, I heard about you last time, but I didn't get tickets in time, but everyone at work has been. So, and they're just such great shows.
Yeah, and we've never like talked about the show either. Like we've never structured it, we've never rehearsed it.
My mum doesn't believe it's improvised, which is one of those ones because they're so funny. You sort of assume, but then how did they make it up? Then it doesn't make any sense.
Yeah.
I remember we had like a meeting with the head of entertainment at the ABC, and he's like, all right, now we got the meeting, like, so how do you do it? And like, well, we don't, like, we genuinely, like, I can't, how do you do it? And we're like, genuinely, like, we arrive at the gig, we talk about, like, how each other's days have been kind of stuff, and then we just sit around, and then, like, our music comes on, and we go out, and, like, that's genuinely, like, we never speak about it.
But people would understand more if it, like with playing an instrument, if someone, can play guitar, they can pick up the guitar and they can put notes together and strum them in different orders, and no one's like, oh my God, that wasn't written down. It's the same with improvising. You practice it. People practice it and they get better and better.
It is a muscle, isn't it?
Oh, definitely.
Yeah.
It sounds terrifying.
Oh.
Terrifying to me. I'd be like,
you would be so good at it.
I don't think so.
Oh,
do you filter? Do you speak before you think? Because that's what really helps.
Right, having a filter or not
Your
having a filter?
Your producer is nodding at me.
Yeah, sometimes I do. It's probably gotten less and less as I age. There's a lot less filtering happening, which is a good thing.
Yeah.
But yeah, wow.
It's all about just being present and like just
Right.
the last thing said's the most important, like just not overthinking it. And,
Yeah.
But the thing that I have with Carlo is like, I know if I say something that like in 50 minutes time we can tie something up because he'll just get it. And he's probably one of like 2 or 3 people in the world where like I have that kind of relationship with. Like it's a very special thing that we're very lucky to kind of travel the world and do.
Isn't that great?
Yeah.
We became acquainted with one of the guys from the Umbilical Brothers.
Yeah, which one, Dave or Shane?
Dave.
Yeah.
And I always admired that connection that the Umbilical Brothers. It's there, it's written on the can.
Yeah.
And how special that is that they can just look at each other and know what they're going to do.
Dave was one of our first champions at university. He was like, you got it. Like he just started telling everyone you got it. Like gave us quotes like you have to come. And like now he still comes with his family and what. Yeah, he's great.
That's so nice.
Yeah. Mm-hmm.
How about you, Sarah? Is your stuff is? I mean, we've seen your stuff on the gram. And it's hilarious. Do you do much improv as well, or is it? And how do you get your material? Where is it all?
It's good to keep it quite loose, but it is very scripted. I don't do any crowd work. There's a big thing now that the audiences, especially because the internet and clips and TikTok and stuff, they really do love you to talk to them, and I'm very uncomfortable with that. And I would hate it if I was in the audience, so I don't do that. So what it tends to be is just, my stand-up really is like the oversharing of a middle-aged woman. It's like my diary, really. And this happened and then that happened and this is how I feel about it, that kind of thing, but with jokes.
Yeah. Are you surprised by what people take offence to with comedy, or do you recognise that that's something that people are always going to have an opinion
what's
on?
Odd now is that it's not like they don't come to a comedy club and get offended. They watch a comedy show, they come through the door, they're in a room full of people. That doesn't tend to be where people take offence. But if you're on the bus on the way to work and Instagram suggested a video to you, or TikTok, and then someone's saying something, that's what happens. It's because it's out of context, and you think that they mean it because you haven't taken, I guess, what they call it the social contract. You're not in a comedy space.
Yeah.
You haven't chosen what to see. And
That's
so sometimes I've had the thing myself where I'm like, oh my God, that's harsh. You know, let's say it's like an American man and he's shouting about Hillary Clinton, saying how ugly she is. And I'll think, oh my God. And I realise, there's no context. I didn't come to your show. I don't like you because I don't know who you are. So and so I take it too literally.
Right.
And so I think that can be a little bit, I guess, frustrating for some comedians and upsetting for some people. They start thinking, I don't like comedy because it's nasty. Some of it's nasty, but a lot of it isn't.
Yeah.
Yeah. And it is supposed to bring joy. There are very few comics who are offending on purpose. If they are trying to offend, it's because it's really fun.
Yeah, right.
Sometimes.
Right.
Yeah.
Do you find as a woman that are you treated any differently being a woman comedian? Do you notice any difference or?
I think it's hard because I don't want to say, oh, I've had a great time, everything's brilliant, because I don't think that has been true for all women. And it definitely, historically, has been really hard. But audiences in the UK over the last couple of decades have really changed. There isn't a reaction when you come on stage as a woman where they go, hang on a minute. As he said, his wife, what's she doing here?
Yeah.
But I do think that used to happen a little bit, and women had to not even just work harder. It was antagonistic. And what you want when you've turned up to a gig is everyone to be thrilled that you're there, and then you can show off. You don't want to be having to prove your value to people who've got their arms folded. So, there used to be a lot more men comedians than women. And now there's a lot more women, which is great. And there's a lot more, what we call like representation or diversity. And that's true across more than gender, across sort of race and age and those kind of things as well, which keeps it really interesting.
Yeah.
Because people talk about their very diverse lives.
Yeah.
I mean, when I think of British humour, I can, back in my memory, I feel like women comedians have actually done really well for a long time in Britain, the Dawn Frenches and and they are, to me, like that is my sense of humour, the British humour, which is very closely linked to the Aussie humour.
Yeah, because you think of Kitty Flanagan, because I'll walk into the kitchen and she will be howling with laughter, looking at her phone and go, and it's like Kitty Flanagan, or people like that.
Yeah,
there's so many great people.
Yeah. But all of those, the British shows we get here, all the 8 out of 10 cats and all of that.
And Graham Norton's been great for that too.
Yeah. So funny.
I'll ask you how, because it doesn't always go well out there, and like you said before, if you're coming out and they've got their arms crossed and you hope that they want to see you, and sometimes it's tough. You've got to win them over or whatever. How do you guys support each other? Hopefully it hasn't happened too many times where things have fallen a bit flat. But what's the sort of things that you tell each other, and how do you support each other through those moments where things haven't gone?
I get him by the scruff of the neck and I go, be funnier next time. It's dog eat dog out there.
Yeah.
It's an oversubscribed market. We've got to pay the mortgage. And I think that really does sort of encourage you, doesn't it?
I don't know. I think just talking to you, like we don't talk about shop too much, like at home.
Yeah.
Like in terms of like gig, you check in just to make sure everything's okay, and then you might just have
Steen's always really good at texting me when I'm on the way home and how did it go, and I was saying, oh, who cares? Like, why would I want to give you a gig report? As in, like, and that's fine. And Steen's very modest. So, like, after your Canberra show, I know the less he tells me, the better it went. So if he says, oh, yeah, it's fine, I was like, oh, they've smashed it. Yeah, don't you? You just sort of shrug it off when you've had a good one. And like, he does that kind of smile. Like, yeah.
No, but we're lucky. We did a tour for the first time together at Christmas. So they hired us a car and we drove. I think we drove. Oh, what was it, like 1,500. No, yeah, 1,500. No.
So we toured the UK doing a lineup show.
Yeah.
So we were both on. So I was at the hotel. Steen went and did the gig. He came back, and
Kids
then
were
I went and did
sleeping,
the
yeah.
gig.
Yeah,
Yeah.
and that was the first time. And
That's
there
awesome.
was 2 nights where we got to just stay and watch each other kind of
Yeah.
stuff, and
Oh,
that was great because we don't.
Yeah.
Because with the kids at bedtime, and as you said before, like one of us will go out to work,
Yeah.
and the other one will stay home with the kids. So
Yeah.
it's actually nice just to kind of be
And we-
there in that environment
and we
together.
Yeah,
were both
right.
like, "Oh, you're really good at this."
Yeah, I know this now.
Because whenever I got to the gig, they'd say, "Steen had a great one tonight."
Yeah.
They'd
Yeah.
always tell me, but I never got to see it.
Whenever Cam plays a lot of music, and whenever he's in his band playing, I fall in love with him all over again. Do you have that when you're watching each other? Does that sort of go, oh, that's my woman, or that's my fella, or
Yeah, I always go, that's my fella. No, where did you do that? Like the members gig that time, and I came to
Yeah.
meet you, and that was the first time I'd seen Sarah performed.
Well, that's warming up for Apollo, wasn't
Yeah,
it?
like but I hadn't seen you perform live. I'd seen
Yeah.
like clips or like reports and stuff.
Mm.
And I remember seeing the back of the room, and you sit in the back room, and there's just strangers kind of thing, and there's strangers like howling, like bent over kind of stuff.
yeah.
But it was like the best.
It was a good one to
It was a good one,
watch,
it was a
by
good
the
one,
way.
Yeah, there
It
you
was a
go.
good one that he came to.
But it was also a hard gig. Like those members clubs sometimes are very hard in terms of they're just there to and she just like is the best in terms of material, performance, calmness that I've ever seen. I was genuinely afterwards like gushing, and same thing, you'd like deflect kind of thing. You're like, oh, stop being my fella, just shut up. But yeah, definitely. And I think when you do have time away and you get to see each other, or whether it's a date night or whatever, when you
Yeah.
do get that time
Yeah.
and you really appreciate it. And
The first time I saw Steen on stage, I was there with my friend Catherine, who does comedy as well. We were both in Melbourne. And I was watching you do Bear Pack. And I'd forgotten this, actually, for all of we were friends for ages. But I said on the way out, I want that man's children. I think I said it more grossly. I think I said I want his sperm. I was so gross because I just thought you were so beautiful
Yeah.
and so funny.
Look at that.
There we go.
Vision board come to
forgotten
life.
that. Yeah, we go.
right.
Were you both funny kids?
No,
You've been-
I wasn't. Were you?
No.
I think I said like my dad always he always treated us as like adults in that sense. So like his sense of humor was just like it wouldn't be like to try and he would tell us like really adult jokes and like
Yeah,
big
right.
like kind of things. So I think I grew up with that sensibility. So we'd always used to watch like Fast Forward and Full Frontal as like and I used to like replay the skits as a kid kind of
Yeah,
stuff.
yeah.
right.
But I wouldn't say like I went out of my way to be funny. I think I was just
Yeah.
like mimicking and that kind of stuff.
Yeah.
Steen was supposed to be a sports star. He was a star cricketer.
Were you?
Yeah.
Not star cricket. I played cricket
played
decent.
cricket.
I was decent.
But then you had an injury. So
Yeah.
your whole life changed, and that's when you discovered
I
comedy.
thought-
Was that your trajectory to go into
Yeah.
pro
I thought,
sports?
so my dad's
cricket?
in the Hall of Fame for football. He captained Australia in soccer in the 80s kind of stuff.
Is that right?
Yeah.
Wow.
So I always thought that I'd do some form
and
of
all of your
sport.
siblings are
Yeah,
sporty.
and very sporty. So playing cricket was probably my main sport. So like, played green shield with David Warner and all that kind of stuff, and then thought like, give it a go. And then I tore the tendons and dislocated my fingers playing AFL in my last year in high school, and I got offered to go one of the counties in England, like just for a gap year to go play
cricket?
Yeah.
Yeah,
just like,
our nephew,
nephew,
just did
yeah.
that. Yeah,
Yeah.
he's a
Yeah.
really
Had a
good
ball.
cricketer.
Yeah. Oh, well, go back in time. And I just I had 2 years and just like splints, like a year in splints kind of thing. I didn't know what to do.
And that happened from playing footy?
AFL, yeah. And
They'll
reversing
do that to you, won't it?
reversing the
Fingers.
worst. Like we pumped this team 191-3 kind of thing.
Right.
And it was like a rainy day, heavy ball, and I went
Yeah.
for a mark, and like it was just like accidental kind of stuff.
Right.
When I
Um,
first met Steen's mum, because she lived in Australia and I lived in London, we'd been together a little while, and she was just like, "Oh, I wish you'd seen him play cricket." And I sort of had to say, "I don't think I'd have cared." It's not really my thing. She was like, "No,
Yeah,
you should have seen him bowl." So, it's all right.
I don't lie awake. That's not what I
Yeah.
think about at 3 in the morning. And so, when did you get into comedy then? When did you find that was?
I was trying to be an
passion?
actor. So I was trying to be an actor in my 20s, and I didn't know anything about stand-up comedy, and I'd never really liked comedy. I was quite a serious young woman, and but when I discovered new material nights and that you could write 5 or 10 minutes and then go and perform it, really what I was doing was monologues
Yeah.
and sort of trying out characters. And compared to acting, which is just a lot of closed doors and banging your head
Yeah.
and lots of projection, the fact that there was this industry where anyone could get up, or you just phoned a number and said, "Can I have 5 minutes tonight or this week?" And the answer was always yes. That was so addictive to me, because like lots of people who were trying to be actors, I was always not acting. I was always doing other things to earn enough money to live in London. And so actually, before I realised it, comedy became my career, but only because they sort of let me. There's no gatekeepers. Yeah.
But I would say as well, like Sarah doesn't have to gig as much as she does. Like you don't have to.
But I've got 2 young children, so out I
go.
No,
some time away from
Is that
home.
a respite?
Yeah.
Oh, absolutely.
Yeah.
And also with comedy, like it just reminds you who you are. And there's something about being a new mum to small children who like literally wipe their noses on you and use you as a dishcloth.
Sneeze in your mouth.
Sneeze in your mouth. The fact that you get to go to work and just pretend for 20 minutes
It's like in the acting world.
real human
It's like in
being.
the acting world between action and cut, or the curtain going up and down. It's like it's kind of like what aeroplane flying used to be like without the internet. It was just they shut the door. You are in a bubble for that period of time.
Yeah, the click, and then just you deal with that.
Yeah.
And it is, I think, like what they call like flow state. But it's the ultimate kind of just being present, dealing with that, and then it's a tonic, isn't it? Because they say cut, and you get to go home.
Yeah.
And you're you again. And you go, oh, there I am.
Yeah.
But that's hard as well. Like when you do come off a gig and you've got like adrenaline kind of stuff, and with the kids that don't sleep, and you just, there's been nights where we just like sit on the stoop of like one of our staircase and just like have a chat just to unwind, just knowing that the other person just needs half an hour.
Or if
just
you're
to
in
come chill.
bed, I'm drinking wine in a mug on the stairs. This is so sad.
Is it in a mug? Is it in a mug because so it's like I'm drinking coffee. I'm actually hiding.
There's something about a mug that does make me feel less
can
of a
wrap your hands
boozer.
around it.
Yeah.
It's more medicinal that way, I think, in a
and
mug,
especially
maybe.
because if I don't have a gig, I'll have a wine at bath time. There's something about sort of I wouldn't ever take a wine glass in with me.
Yeah.
That feels ridiculous, but I'll just stuff half a bottle in a mug.
I do. I do a radio
it's a lot less
program.
alcoholic,
I do a radio program on Smooth FM. I'm the night guy on
Yeah.
Smooth, and there's a lot of talking about wrapping your hands around a mug or hopping into a bath and tip some lavender oil in there and
Oh, I see.
relax,
Okay.
let the shoulders go.
Not until wine. Not until wine.
Listen to this. Here's Lionel Richie. A little bit of hello.
And then you're like, why is Lionel Richie in the bath with me?
He said
That's the
hello.
only-
Reply.
He did. What about? So I'm just thinking before, as you're talking about the kids, and sort of performance anxiety, going, and then you're feeling you've got a big show on, and then you've got a little child sneezing in your mouth or whatever. To me, that really helps. It helps with the nerves because it's like life is, and you don't get a chance to dwell on what might be or the nerves and things like that. Has that changed? Having children, has that changed both of your comedy?
Hugely changed
output?
mine, because I would have said what used to happen, especially with tour shows, big gigs, is that you get all of this fear, and then you get this huge adrenaline when you go on and it goes well, and then afterwards, as you say, you have this sort of heightened state and you don't sleep well, and then you crash.
Yeah.
And if you're doing lots and lots of shows, you start to feel burned out quite quickly.
Right.
Whereas when I was pregnant, and they make you so aware of the fact that what you're going through, your baby goes through, it's like in terms of hormones and stress. They're always telling you, relax. They don't want you to. And so I really tried hard to feel the same in the dressing room as I would on stage. And I lost some showbiz because I didn't have this click happening anymore. I was just sort of waddling on as this pregnant woman, and then I realised it was so much healthier because while I wasn't getting the big sort of lift, I also wasn't getting the crash afterwards.
Right,
So
yeah.
I've tried to sort of maintain that.
Yeah.
And I think there's
Yeah.
that thing of like you just want to get home after the gig, like
Yeah.
to be with
Yeah.
the boys. So like that you can't sit in that kind of heightened space for too long.
Yeah, you can't be like, where are we going, lads? Let's go and celebrate
home,
that one.
home,
Yeah,
home.
it's just sort of
Exactly.
like, just straight in a
I'm
cab.
going to my mug of wine at home.
Yeah.
Do you ever use your improv skills to help you with parenting moments?
Oh, I think you have to. Like the biggest thing with improv is like yes and listening, and I think listening is a skill with improv too. So
Yeah,
I would
right.
hope that I'm a good listener with my boys, but also like I'm a very patient person. But I think with kids, it's like it's tested me in terms of like I'm very impatient sometimes with them, and then you see I don't know I struggle a bit sometimes in terms of them not understanding what I want them to do. Where usually like I'm very calm, I would say, but I think that's all a life lesson.
Yeah. So it's frustrating. It's frustrating that there are concepts like patience that just aren't inbuilt. So saying to someone, we can do that in 5 minutes, who's going to keep asking you, well, I want it now and I want it now.
Yeah.
At the moment with the 3-year-old, we're trying to, like, really in a fun way, explain that pudding comes after dinner and it makes pudding better. And it's really brilliant. And the fact that you know it's in the fridge or freezer, we don't want you to go and just take it out and start eating it.
Yeah.
And the fact that, so there's things that are frustrating. And sometimes with Steen, I'll be like, you're talking to him like he's 13, like he's 3. You're not going to win this one.
Yeah. That was a big lesson for me. It was too many words.
Yeah.
Just because Ali's a teacher of little kids, and so it was. We learnt a lot from our kids' teachers, and they were so specific about giving them information that is age appropriate.
Yeah.
You know, and it was just like, just too many words, and I love
too many choices as well. Sometimes you give kids too many. You don't say, "What do you want for dinner?" You say, "Do you want chips or a hot dog?" That's it.
Yeah.
You don't give them. Because that upsets them as well as upsets you.
Yeah.
When they don't give you an answer.
I remember getting really upset walking down the aisle in a supermarket in America just wanting to buy some cereal, and there was 5,000 different cereals and just going, I don't know what.
You had a toddler moment.
Like, why not just give me some
It's
Weet-Bix.
overwhelming.
Yeah.
There's stuff that I found really helpful on Instagram, because you have sort of child psychologists sharing stuff in these bite-sized things, and one of them was about how if you've made your child something for dinner and they don't want to eat it, if you make them something else, everything's going to fall down. Because it's like you've done your side of the bargain. To be a good parent, all you had to do was provide some dinner, which you did. Eating it is up to them. And I was like, yeah, of course, because otherwise you're like, oh no, I need to make something else that they do want. And as soon as you get into, okay, what do we have in the house? What do you want? And then the other thing about, once you've told them once, you've said, we're not going to do this for 5 minutes. You don't have to tell them again. After that, just distract them.
Yeah, right.
Because you've told them once.
Yeah. One of the genius hacks, I don't know how long it lasted for, but I remember friends of ours taught their daughter that broccoli was dessert.
Oh.
So it was like this really special thing that you only got to have, a special dessert. So they'd be like, "Can I have broccoli?" I'm like, well, why is she so into broccoli? We've told her it's dessert. I was like, that's kind of genius for a while.
Yeah.
Don't have to worry about pudding then, I guess.
Do you guys have? They're so young. The kids are still really young. But would you like them to follow in your footsteps into comedy? Would you encourage that into that world of performance?
I think
I don't know the answer to this.
Yeah,
How do you
I
feel
think
about
like
it?
in terms of like dad. So dad, I'd get more pressure from the old Greek men at the football telling me like, you play soccer, why don't you play soccer like your father? Like genuinely, like, and the best thing I think dad ever did was like, he just wanted us to be just like to be happy and to find their own stuff. Like would come watch us play sport, wouldn't like yell on the side, he'd just sit there and watch kind of thing. And if I wanted to ask him a question at home about the game, whatever, like he'd help with that. So feeling like that, like comfortness of just, exploring what I want to do was always like, I think the best thing that he did for me kind of thing. So whatever they want to do, I think
Really?
Yeah, I think so. You don't want to pressure them like going into
no, absolutely not. Neither of my parents are interested in my work, and there's a huge relief in that.
Yeah,
I meet people whose parents are too involved, I think, in a really proud way, but then it feels like if you don't get something, like you're letting them down. There's a lot of pressure sometimes in just wanting to support your kids. I think there's probably a really sort of nice balance between being encouraging and proud, but not too into the details of it.
Yeah. Well, I've got a thing at the moment with our youngest, who's 19, has picked up the guitar, and she's been playing properly for about 18 months, and she's really good. And so we had a bit of a celebration on the weekend, and she played for me. She played a compilation of some of my songs. She just blended them together, and it was really, really cool. And then at the end of it, it just was blown away that she would even think to do that. And then I'm thinking, if she actually dropped that, she grabbed the capo and just dropped it down, think she'd be able to do this. And I just thought, back away from the jar, mate. Just let her. She's finding her own way. So I understand this idea of you want to encourage and yet just give them the room
Not be
to
too
find their
invested.
own place.
I think it's really good you have that awareness, because it's just one of those things that once you've encroached and crossed that line, it's too late to take it back.
I think you're right.
Like, I think if you go like, oh, you were slightly out of tune on that, but
it won't come back to you.
Yeah, you can't go there. But who cares, you know?
Yeah,
Glad you're enjoying it.
Yeah.
I wonder about, because people have this horrible phrase, nepo baby, but I can understand from just how much you want to do whatever you can for your kids.
Yes.
So if you are in the similar field, I wouldn't be able to help going, I know who's in charge of that. Let me call a person. They can connect you to so-and-so, because it isn't really about talent. You still have to be good.
Yeah,
but you can sort of, tell someone how the industry works. You can just save them some time.
Absolutely.
And it would be so hard not to go, I started from nothing, so off you go. You wouldn't be able to help it going, this course is the best course. This teacher is incredible. Yeah.
There's that, because our oldest is in that world and she fights it because she's so creative, and yet she's not interested in being on camera, but she's really good at creating stuff and things. And then I know we've had our challenges with her, because I'll say, I can call someone at that network or do this. And she's like, don't.
Yeah.
I'll find my way. It's like, honey, but why wouldn't I use that contact? And I'm just to meet them, just go meet them and pick their brains,
Yeah.
Yeah.
And after that, also, it's like that you're on your own.
Yeah.
No one actually gets across the line as a favour.
Yeah.
You just sometimes just get in the room, and then someone else gets to go, wow, she's so creative. I know what you could be doing, that kind of thing.
Yeah.
But I think there is like that stigma attached to, like, especially young people, like, or that like external help coming through. So if she does want to do it by herself, like, she can do it by herself. Like, didn't get dad's help, like, in terms of that self-validation, I think it's very important.
Yeah, great.
In the UK, there are a couple quite successful comics whose children are now comics, and they changed their surnames because they didn't want to have the audience ever even thinking, oh, hang on, are they related to so-and-so?
Yeah.
Because it's just so sort of tarnished with negativity, isn't it?
Yeah.
Absolutely. I mean, that's the same as you were saying with like sports stars, if
Beckham's son.
Beckham's, exactly. Like if he goes to play out on the soccer field, it's like immediate comparison to his
Same
dad.
with LeBron James in the NBA at the moment. Like,
I know.
Like, it's so hard.
And they put him on a contract too early. They did.
If only just blended the others.
Should we get our books out, Ali?
They did. One of our really good friends in the States was, when we were living there, he was son of an uber famous actor. And he had a horrible time because he had the dad's surname, and he could hear them in the waiting room before he's going into audition. And they go, oh, well, next we've got, Jason coming in and he's son, and he just felt the weight of that, and he felt the weight of the disappointment when he walked in and he wasn't his dad. And it was so hard for him.
And sometimes they'd call him by his dad's
Oh,
name.
I know, that's right.
Oh, and he's like, oh yeah. I'm like, oh, that's cringe.
And I think how hard it must be in inverse for a parent. You work really hard to become successful, so and the amazing thing is you can give your family a wonderful life, and then if your children, it then becomes that your success, what you've achieved, overshadows their life.
Yeah.
Tom Hanks's son is an actor, and he has a really fantastic podcast. And when I was listening to it, I hadn't even thought about it. But so he's an actor, and actually, if Tom Hanks wasn't his dad, he's a very successful actor. Except when Tom Hanks is your dad, what can you achieve?
Yeah, that's right.
Like you're never going to come anywhere. He's so overshadowed by his dad, and he loves his dad.
Yeah,
of course.
But he never got to find out what he could have done.
Yeah.
I was thinking about Clint Eastwood's son, Scott. I think his name is Scott Eastwood. Well, I mean, Clint Eastwood to me is one of the best looking fellows around, and he's
Still?
Well, maybe not so much now, but he's grown. He looks like an old tree, very handsome.
But he's aged very well.
Absolutely. And even in The Unforgiven, I was watching that on the telly the other day because Gene Hackman passed away, and I was just looking at it, and Clint Eastwood was still like, wow, what a face. Scott Eastwood looks almost identical to Clint Eastwood, and he's a good actor. Yet, he hasn't had it's such a fleeting thing, isn't it? Yeah. And you just never know how it's going to go. You just got to keep throwing it out there.
Yeah.
So based on that, you said you were working as an actor in the UK or before you did stand up.
But never on TV or anything.
Yeah, but there's so much potential. I mean, everyone wants to laugh these days. Comedy is so is so watchable and so fun, and all these shows like The Office, and I know you had your version of it here. Is that something that you guys could do together? Have you ever thought about creating a pilot? Or
The first thing, before we even got together, we had an option for a show that we wrote about a couple trying for a baby with IVF, and then both our children are IVF babies.
Yeah, we had a really odd, spooky life imitating art where, we wrote a script, it got optioned, and then we got together and it felt like, should we be doing... I didn't like the idea of playing a couple who couldn't have children if we were going to, as a couple, try and have children.
Which we didn't know at the time.
Yeah.
Like, that was it, yeah.
And then really bizarrely, we couldn't conceive naturally and we did IVF, and we're like, this is so spooky. It's like we knew it in advance.
Yeah.
But also, Steen told me that he wanted to have children with me before we even kissed each other. He was so full on.
You go, Steen. I love it.
Knew what he wanted.
No, and I loved it because people always think it's women going like, oh, I really, really want to have kids. Whereas actually I was like, I really, really want to have my career. And Steen was like, no,
that's awesome.
we're going to have, he said, actually, and I did find this very attractive. Steen was like, I put my foot down about one thing, and that's that they have my surname.
Yeah.
He's like, I know you've got your feminism.
But I lost that on the dog. The dog's got her surname.
Yes,
so.
the dog's
the dogs.
Sara Pascoe.
Okay.
Sara Pascoe.
Yeah. Well, I don't know. We've tried. I think I don't know. We've tried to do some stuff before, but
it would take so much time because if you actually got to make a TV show, you know what it's like. You're filming 13, 14-hour days. For us at the moment with our kids this age, it would be impossible.
Yeah.
I mean,
you got plenty of time.
Yeah.
You got plenty
And
of
also, I see you so much, no offence.
Oh, mate.
I love leaving
back
the
at you,
house
baby.
to go to work. Yeah.
Yeah.
I think, and also we already have you got all the admin of the kids, all of the housework stuff. If you then have you done your rewrite on the script?
Yeah.
Have you gone through, have you gagged it up? Have you taken my note about that?
But I think you're
that
very
might be
good at
the straw that broke the camel's back.
Yeah.
But I think you're very good at writing working by yourself. Where I like to collaborate kind of stuff.
Yeah, right.
And I think it was important for me to collaborate with different people to understand and learn, which is what's happening now. So that maybe in the future that I've got to be more experienced, to go.
Yeah, and I'm really bossy because I've done stand up for such a long time, and I'm used to working by myself, and I'm not very good at taking other people's ideas.
Well, who are your comedic influences, would you say?
I really like silly comedy.
Yeah.
I like Harry Hill. Do you get Harry Hill over here?
Don't know Harry Hill.
He's really silly. He has sort of badger parades.
Is that sort of like, just indulge me a second, is that like Goodies and all the Goodies?
It would definitely be in that
Monty
that
Python,
tradition,
silly sort of stuff? Is that what you're talking about?
Yes, that kind of thing. But also he has people dressed as badgers on stage with him having a parade.
Okay. I love that.
Do you have Eddie Izzard over here?
Love
Eddie
Izzard.
Yeah, Eddie
We saw
Izzard.
him live a couple of times in LA.
Yeah.
I always remember this. I was still laughing at his first joke, and he told 10 more others, and I could never catch up because I just...
And it all builds
So
and builds
good.
and builds.
Yes.
And I think Eddie Izzard, like what they achieved in the 90s, is just sort of unsurpassed, really.
Right.
And then because Britain, it's like, you've got Billy Connolly, you've got the storytellers.
Yeah.
And people who really did sort of break down where jokes have to come from, that you can just sort of share yourself. All those kind of things. And Jo Brand, do you have Jo Brand here? So she was the sort of the premier. I mean, she's still gigging. She's been, for a long time, she was sort of the only woman.
Right.
Yeah.
Are you a Ricky Gervais?
Ricky Gervais, I love Ricky Gervais. Yeah.
Here's some of the clips that come out just from behind the scenes of the things that he would film where he can't keep a straight face when other people are talking.
Yeah.
That's what makes me laugh a lot. That's what I'll be howling with laughter.
I always loved Ricky Gervais at the Golden Globes.
Yeah.
Because for me, it felt like that was a proper court jester. You know, he doesn't belong there. It's not like Nikki Glaser the other day where she is Hollywood.
Yeah.
So it's one of them making fun of them.
Yeah.
Ricky Gervais does look like a tubby Englishman.
Yeah.
And he,
with his beer in his hand.
And he's sort of speaking truth to power.
Yeah.
And I think he was always terrific at that.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
I'd never thought about it in that terms of being a court jester.
Yeah.
And so, don't worry about being the Joker, because the Joker often tells the truth.
Yeah. And that's the whole point.
And the court jester tells the truth. And he was able to tell the truth and then do his giggle and then...
And also that thing where the camera goes to the person the joke's about and they're not laughing. It's like, the king doesn't laugh.
Yeah,
the king doesn't find the jester funny.
Yeah, that's right.
That's not who it's for. more. It's
Yeah.
for us, you know,
Yeah.
the proles.
Yeah.
I love that.
How about for
Yeah,
you,
yeah,
Steen?
Steen.
Who, who's influenced you?
I think definitely like growing up, like the full frontal, like so Eric
Yeah,
Banner, like
right.
if I could emulate anything in terms of a career, like in terms of starting off in sketch comedy and moving into like more acting kind of stuff.
Yeah.
But then I think my older sister Jordan kind of used to sneak me into pubs to do improv when I was like 15, 16. And then obviously like the Boosh when I was like 17, 18 at university. Do you like the Mighty Boosh, like those guys? Or-
Yeah, we kind of
No?
missed a lot of that.
Oh.
That
Yeah,
was
we
it,
were
you know.
away
Like just
from
stuff
it.
that like I'd never seen before in terms of like you could just do batshit stuff and it was accepted and like
Yeah.
like cult following kind
Yeah.
of stuff, which I'd never seen before. And I think in terms of my style and imagination, like that's something I'd probably lean towards more
Yeah.
than traditional stand-up kind of stuff.
Okay.
Yeah.
Out of the two of you, who's more likely to turn a life situation into a comedy moment, or are you both like that?
No, again, it comes back to bossy.
Yeah.
I think the instant something's even half of a thing, I'm like, mine, got it.
Yeah.
And there have been a couple of times where Steen has even seen it cross my
Yeah.
face.
Yeah.
Like, and he's gone, no.
Yeah, because you can probably see it ripple across going, ooh, ooh, ooh.
Hang on. Like, it's happening.
But it's also different styles kind of stuff. How do we approach it and tell it too? But I
Yeah.
think you're definitely more.
Yeah, when you were saying it's more like your diary that
Yes.
you're...
Yeah,
Yeah.
which is
Yeah.
true. Where like my stuff's a bit more absurd, I'd say.
Yeah.
So does that mean, are you always on? Or is there moments where you just go, I just don't want to be looking for info, no intel, I'm just having a cup of coffee.
I
sitting
say
here.
it's just back of your mind. It's not.
I think
front of-
you're
it's
not
not
always
front of my
you're not always
pad
on,
out,
but you
yeah.
can't switch off if that makes sense.
Yeah.
Like,
Yeah.
so
Yeah, you're taking
you've got
it
something
in.
at the back. Yeah.
Yeah.
Do you note it in a book, or do you?
Yes.
Yeah.
Oh, if we got our
longhand, yeah.
notes on our phones, you could like I still don't understand half the stuff
Yeah.
at
Yeah.
night.
Yeah.
You're like, oh, I remember what this means, and, all, but, and then you wake up.
Yeah,
it's
just like catfish. Okay, and what was that related to? Do you use humor a lot, like to get you through challenging situations as well?
oh yeah, that witching hour, that 4 o'clock to
Yeah.
5:30,
Yeah.
definitely. Or do you mean like in terms of like in real life?
In real life, yeah.
Like my last like proper show, like in 2018, I did a show about like my mental health and my grandfather kind of stuff, and that was definitely a show where the comedy and serious side kind of crossed over kind of thing. So I
yeah.
definitely used it as that device kind of thing. What about you? What about you? What about you? Sir?
I think there's this really like amazing thing that happens in terms of fictionalizing something true. That a bit like a funny anecdote that anyone, once you've told it 3 or 4 times, it has sort of evolved from what actually happened to become a more entertaining version of what happened.
Yeah.
So if you do stand up about something that started off as something quite raw,
Yeah.
by the time you're on tour, which is a year and a half after you wrote it, the emotions have left and it's just script.
Yeah, right.
And so then it's performative. And so actually what you sometimes feel is, I think the easiest example would be heartbreak, like where very big feelings, but everyone's okay. Getting to talk about an ex afterwards is the perfect thing where you end up with this version of it, which is entertaining, and other people have been through the same thing and you can all laugh at it. But it's nowhere near the actual truth.
Yeah.
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 Yeah. Yeah. Yeah.
So it really just becomes a story.
Yeah, it's a story.
Yeah.
And stories then, they improve themselves,
Yes.
don't they? Because they want to be the best story they can be.
Yeah. I guess with audiences as well, like something you might spontaneously do will affect or have a bigger kind of eruption from a crowd. You're like, oh, that worked better. So like, there's a slight tweak here. and
that's
then,
it. You try stuff for an audience, and then you're always trying to please audiences. So you're editing for them, dropping out important details, and that's why it's hard, I think, for people who are in relationships or families with comedians, because the versions of themselves on stage is never very accurate.
Okay.
Yeah.
Has that happened where your folks or your brothers or your family members have gone, dude, what are you doing?
Yeah.
That never happened.
Yeah, especially because I used to do stand-up in pubs and no one saw it, so I could say whatever I liked
Yeah.
about my sisters and my mum.
Yeah.
And then once I started getting on the radio and telly, they were, my sisters, one of my sisters is a school teacher to 16 to 18-year-olds, and she was like, never again will you talk about that. Don't tell people this. Like, she's going back from her childhood. Like, no. She's like, I'll lose
making
my
notes,
job.
yeah.
yeah.
Well, that's. I mean, he's a classic for exaggeration and storytelling. I mean, it comes,
Never.
and I'm like, just the facts, please, ma'am.
Yeah.
She
Like,
called me up
oh
at a
my
dinner party or whatever.
God.
I'm in the middle of the blistering version of something that didn't happen. Or maybe a part of it did. But
the classic
and I'll
one.
go, that didn't happen.
It was a Wednesday.
Oh, my God. You know the rules, and you don't say no. Not in the middle of the thing.
It's the ones where you tell a story as if you were actually there and you were never there. It
Oh, that's
actually was
happened.
me and
I
the
do
kids.
that.
That's happening. But that's old age now.
Yeah.
No, I do that. I
like
can't.
you weren't
You
there.
can't again, it's just storytelling.
Yeah.
It's much better if it's from it's the first person point
Yeah.
of view.
Yeah.
It sort of diminishes if you say, "Oh, my friend's auntie."
Yeah.
So
It's so true, isn't it? I got to
But I'll
stop.
I'll
I gotta
often
stop
do
it.
that because Ali, she's gonna cut in the middle of this and say something. So and then it just goes down.
Well, I've had it where I was doing that. It happened to me story, and the person I was telling it to said, "You're telling me I told you this."
No. Oh, yeah,
Yeah.
that's actually happened with you and I.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. It was like,
Unreal.
what?
Do you guys?
I told you this.
Do you ask permission? Have you ever asked permission of a family member or a friend? Can I tell this?
Yeah.
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 That's good.
Yeah, because it's too bad. The only time I didn't was because I didn't think the people in the story would recognise themselves, and they didn't.
Yeah.
I got away with it. I was once in a house show. I lived with a woman, and she met a guy, and very quickly they decided to get together. And I got this sort of phone call of like, "We want you out." I was in Edinburgh Comedy Festival, and they were like, "We want you out in 2 weeks when you come home." So I was sort of like coming back from a comedy festival, homeless, nowhere to live. And my first night in my new apartment, I bought myself a curry, and a bottle of wine on Deliveroo. But I didn't change my address, and I sent it to their house. and then they texted me. They thought I'd sent it as like a treat, like their first night without me. I'd sent them some wine and a curry. And that's the only time where I thought this is absolutely true, but they won't even realise.
No.
Yeah,
and they didn't.
So I'll be over in 5 minutes to pick it up. It's not for you.
It was
I
devastating.
hope it gives you diarrhea. So what's next for you both? Obviously, you're still touring the festivals. What's future plans? The next sort of have you got sort of 2-3 years ahead, or no, but that's probably too far. You've got 2 little kids.
No, it has to be, because we're trying to for one of us to be with the children. It means we need to negotiate. So I'm touring until March 26 in the UK,
Wow.
which means that all of my little off periods, like I've got December off, I've got 2 months off in the autumn. I don't do more than 3 shows a week, and everything else is Steen's. So Steen is like slotting his stuff in.
Yeah, amazing.
Yeah.
You kind of have to, I think.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And then sometimes when Steen's got a big audition, he'll be like, "It'll be 3 months in Japan in May," and I'm like, "Get it first, then we'll deal with it. Get it first,
yeah.
and then we'll have all the calendars collapse."
Yeah, 'cause
Yeah.
I think, especially when T was born, you started turning, like, even auditions, you just turn it down because you just couldn't even wrap your head around
would
it
we work,
if we
make it
did get
work?
it or whatever. Like,
Yeah, what would you do?
What would we do? I think
filming
now.
The Office, Steen was in Australia while I had Theo, and I was heavily pregnant with our second.
Yeah.
And eventually Steen's mum actually had to come over from Sydney to help me.
It was just too hard.
Yeah,
It
it was
flew
too
my
hard.
over. Just-
Because you were like, what, 14 hours on set doing that most
yeah,
likely?
it's like 9 weeks, 5-6 days a week. It was just, it was just too
It's
much.
a
And
lot,
just
isn't it?
and time zones, you couldn't really speak to them in the
Yeah.
morning because they're going to bed, and
Yeah.
then it'd make them more upset.
You wouldn't have
and-
wanted to speak to me. The mood I was in.
That's why I flew my mum over to help out.
Mum, get over there
Yeah, had
ASAP.
to.
Yeah.
We've come to the part of the poddy where we call it the pulse. So can you humour us a little bit more? We'll really get to the heart of things now.
Okay.
What brings you joy?
I really like watching you being a dad.
Oh.
I like watching you be a dad. Yeah, I think with how playful she is with the kids, I think is just like magic to see them love their mummy so much.
They do really like me.
They love you. Because you give them more sweeties than me.
Beautiful.
Yeah.
Is there what would be one time that you'd like to revisit?
Sleep or hangover before kids, where you just sort of stay in bed and watch TV on your computer and drink a can of Coke and have some crisps.
I think there was one holiday we went to Greece on Mykonos, I think.
Oh yeah.
And we just flew over to Mykonos just for work. Or
It's
like
supposed to be short and sweet
oh,
answers.
sorry. We went there.
We went on holiday.
We went on holiday. we grabbed like two beers and we just walked down and sat on a beach, and it was like we're just watching the ocean and having a beer with each other, and that is the shortest answer I can.
Simple and sweet. I love it.
Here you go. This you have a lot of practice.
That's why she edits all my stuff.
What do you miss when you're not together?
I smell your clothes.
What?
I'll go and stick my head right in your wardrobe and smell you.
Do you?
Yeah. Because you've got a very strong smell, a really delicious, strong
delicious.
smell.
Finish.
And your clothes hold it really nicely. So you get a really good waft of it.
I think support, like, she's the only person that knows what's going on. Do you know what I mean? Like, the only person I can tell, and she just don't have to say a word, just like, yep, understand.
Beautiful. Okay, one word to describe each other.
Magic.
Tall.
Tall magic.
Tall magic.
Wow. Wow. I mean, you're not lying, but wow.
You guys can work that out later.
That's awesome.
Actually, edit this. I want to change my word.
Thanks so much for your time, both
Thank
of you,
you.
and can't wait to see what comes next.
Yeah.
Thank you so
Good
much.
luck
Yeah.
with everything, with all the touring. I know you're already highly successful in your own right anyway, but just keep at it. It's just clearly in your blood and you're doing so well with it. So congratulations.
Thank you.